What's up everybody and welcome to the cave. I'm GrizzlyKaun and today we're going to be reviewing the new movie Psycho Killer. That's right, I watched it so you don't have to. Spoiler alert, lucky you. So Psycho Killer is written by Andrew Kevin Walker, the same writer of the legendary murder mystery Seven. Upon seeing the trailer for this movie and who was writing it, I was hyped from the get-go. I could not wait to see it. I love a good murder mystery. Throw in some occult themes and I am ready to go. And Seven is definitely a favorite of mine in this type of genre. However, murder and occult themes is about the only thing these two movies have in common. Another Seven, this movie is not. If you've seen the trailer, you get the basic gist of the movie's plot. In fact, if you've seen the trailer, you've pretty much seen the entire movie's plot except how it ends. Honestly, my favorite part of the movie was the opening scene that sets up the entire plot, which takes up almost half of the initial trailer that got me interested in the first place. Speaking of mystery, what's your favorite murder mystery? Tell me down in the comments below. No real spoilers here since it's in the trailer. We open with the killer, entitled the Satanic Slasher, driving down the highway until a state trooper gets behind him. No flashing lights or anything, and he decides to pull over. Mike Archer, the state trooper, pulls up behind him, walks over, why'd you stop, license and registration, you know, the basic spiel. The slasher says he's tired, so he pulled over, all the while never really showing Mike his face or even looking at him. That's kind of suspicious to begin with, right? When Mike asks for his license, the slasher says, "Hold on, it'll take me a minute to find it," just as another state trooper pulls up. This is Mike's wife and our main character, Jane Archer. She asks if he needs help with the stop and he says, "No, just go home and get the meatloaf started," as she's at the end of her shift. Mike says he's probably about to take this guy in on drug charges as his backseat is littered with empty pill bottles. Now at this point, the killer has already made his way across several states, leaving a trail of bodies everywhere he goes. At least 15 kills, and he paints satanic symbols all over the crime scene with the victim's blood. Certainly, catching this killer would be at the top of state and local law enforcement's priorities. Even the FBI, sending out alerts on what to look out for to all stations within his vicinity or in his expected line of travel. Like, he has to be near the top of the most wanted list by now, right? Well, I can tell you by the way these two troopers are acting at this traffic stop, it certainly doesn't feel like it at all. Sure, they're husband and wife, and maybe seeing each other caused them to drop their defenses a little bit. But the only reason Jane even stays to watch out for Mike and make sure he's okay is because she has a Han Solo moment of,
"I got a bad feeling about this."
She sees her husband get shot and killed, and from there basically sets out on a quest of revenge as she goes on leave and decides to track down the killer herself. This is pretty much the high point as far as the plot goes. Just as an example, this next part is a bit of a spoiler as to who the killer actually is, but believe me, unless you're jet set on seeing it, you're not missing anything. As the story goes on, it begins to make less and less sense. The slasher is revealed to be inspired by a murderous preacher named Richard Joshua Reeves, who killed his congregation and then was supposedly killed himself in prison when attempting to attack a guard. But later on, you find out he could actually be Richard Joshua Reeves. How he escaped prison, they never tell you. And in the end, you find out he definitely is Richard Joshua Reeves when he's being taken back to prison and the guard says, "Welcome back." It's like the writer had all these ideas of what would make a good murder mystery, but only mentions or introduces them without fleshing them out. I'm not saying slashers are high art or anything, but if you're gonna make a campy killer movie, don't pretend to have some high concept like this movie does. Embrace the campiness. Even some of the kill scenes are campy as hell, complete with full-on CGI blood. No ideas in this movie feel fleshed out at all, which is insane considering Seven is filled with intrigue and mystery. Every little symbol or phrase left behind by the killer has a deep meaning that requires research to unlock its meaning, or gives a clue to where he'll strike next. Psycho Killer tries to do it way too fast without laying any groundwork. The only upside to this rush story is I didn't have to sit through any longer than its already 92-minute runtime. And our main character Jane has her own set of problems throughout the film. Her dialogue sucks, she seems to always show up at the right time, and somehow comes out unscathed after being thrown through a glass window and landing on concrete. At one point, to stop the killer, she has to get through bulletproof glass, and she does this by shooting at it with an AR until it forms a hole large enough to take another rifle, a hunting rifle, stick the barrel through that, and then shoot. On top of it all, she's pregnant, another trope that Hollywood seems to love these days, the pregnant warrior woman going into battle. I won't be too mad at this though, as she's still very early on in her pregnancy. She just found out, nothing like the pregnant women in One Battle After Another or Avatar Fire and Ash. When I got home, I needed a palate cleanser, so I watched Longlegs with Nick Cage, another occult murder mystery, and holy crap, it's crazy how much better they tackle that genre. The openings of these two films actually have a pretty similar feel, including red title sequences and their partners being killed. I've seen Longlegs before, so it's not like I didn't know what was coming, but it's done so much better than Psycho Killer that when I thought about comparing these two movies for this video, I forgot the name of Psycho Killer when I tried to look it up to find some info on it. If there's a better sign of how hard this movie failed my expectations than me forgetting its name 2 hours after I just saw it, I don't know what it would be. If I had to say something positive about it, I did like the way they made the slasher feel like a main character. You get to follow his perspective more throughout the story and see more than just the kill or aftermath of his latest kill like other movies of this type typically do. Other than that, this movie is a giant pile of disappointment, plot holes, poorly written dialogue, and attempts to be smarter than it actually was. Overall, I give it a 1 out of 10, surprisingly right on par with Rotten Tomatoes score.
I am very disappointed!
If you haven't seen it, you're not missing out. If you plan on seeing it, save your money, wait for streaming. There is no need to rush to the theater. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on an update for other movies and TV shows. I even get into some gaming live streams. So once again, thanks for stopping in. I'm GrizzlyKaun, and remember, the cave is always open.